All right. Good evening, everybody. I will call this Monday, February 26th, 2024 meeting of the Lake Havasu City Parks and Recreation Advisory Board to order. If you could all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, thank you. Move on to the roll call.
Sherry Butler is excused. Kyler Cox.
Here.
Mercedes Kaiser.
Here.
Jason Mitchell.
Here.
Shannon Murray.
Here.
Ashley Pasquale.
Here.
Alex Ross.
Here.
Philip Shannon is excused. Councilmember David Lane.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, move on to the call to the public. We'll now have an open call to the public for citizens wishing to address the board on issues within the jurisdiction of the board. Your comments must be limited to 3 minutes or less. If you wish to address an item already on today's agenda, you should wait until that item is announced for a public hearing. At the conclusion of the open call to the public, individual members of the board may respond to criticism made by those who address the board, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be placed on a future agenda. However, board members cannot discuss or take legal action on matters not already on the agenda. That being said, would anybody like to address the board as part of the call to the public? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5.1, approval of the January 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes. Looking for a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion and a second.
Mercedes Kaiser, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All righty. Move on to item 6.1, Director Keene.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Teen Break will be happening March 19th through the 21st for our 6th through 12th graders at Rotary Park. Registration began today, February 26th. The cost for each participant is $43. Spring Break Camp registration begins Tuesday, March 5th, with a fee of $43 for each participant, and additional children are $34. This is for kindergarten through 5th graders, and the program will be run March 18th through the 22nd at Jamaica. Monetary and in-kind donations are still being accepted for Teen Break. Please contact the Parks and Recreation Office. Baseball, girls softball, and soccer are all entering their spring seasons, so field use is very, very busy. The recreation aid positions are currently open for their summer camp staff, and we've hired several new employees who have begun working at the after-school programs. We're also about halfway through our youth basketball season. In our aquatics division, we've completed our first set of swim lessons for the Red Cross Centennial Campaign. Regular spring swim lessons for February will finish up this week. We've had several sheriff department trainings that have been completed. One just was completed this past weekend, and several more are scheduled for March. We're getting great feedback from the sheriff's department on allowing those trainings to take place. We also have a fire department new hire training, which is coming on March 8th. Kinder Swim started actually today and will run through the first week of May. The aquatic staff has completed Narcan training, and we now have a Narcan unit in our AED equipment on the deck. The Nova graduation will be March 1st. And during spring break, the pool will be open Monday through Thursday, March 18th through the 21st for open swim from 12 to 3 p.m. We also have our lifeguard recruitment open with the class scheduled for April. Some events going on in the community center. The Nova graduation, again, is March 1st. Led Zeppelin Tribute Band, March 2nd. The Doobie Brothers Tribute, March 3rd. Bob Seger Tribute, March 4th. Havasu Night Out, March 5th. The Art Guild Spring Show is March 9th and 10th. The Lake Havasu High School Basketball Team Dinner Banquet is March 13th. Arizona Collectible and Firearm Show, March 16th and 17th. A Western Welcome Bunko, March 18th. A Tim McGraw Tribute Concert, March 22nd. A tribute concert to The Who, March 23rd. And a tribute concert to Chicago, March 24th. Some items going on in the park. First Friday, Booze and Bites will be on the parcel in the corner of McCullough and Querio on March 1st. The Havasu Half Doggy Run at London Bridge Beach will also be on March 1st. And the Havasu Half Marathon will be start and end at London Bridge Beach, but will run throughout the city on March 2nd. Brews and Brats will be on the parcel March 2nd. The Works Racing will be at the Island Track on March 4th through the 18th. USA Roller Sports Scootering event will be held at the Tennell Memorial Skate Park March 7th through the 9th. The Havasu Deuces Car Show will also be at Rotary Park on March 9th. The Havasu Craft Show will be on the parcel in the corner of McCullough and Querio March 16th and 17th. The Memorial Walkway dedication will be under the London Bridge March 17th. I'd also like to take an opportunity for a couple of thank yous. Thank you to the Lions Club for supplying a new shade structure at Jack Hardy Park. It covers some benches that were donated by the Kiwanis Club. So it gives a lot more shade there in that area of the park. And then thank you to the Chamber of Commerce leadership class. They're providing a new swing set at Rotary Park and also Moby mats, which are mats that'll be laid out on the beach for accessibility there at Rotary Park and at London Bridge Beach. We held a groundbreaking for the swing set this morning, February 26th. With that, I'll take any questions.
Great update. Any questions or comments for the director? Go ahead.
I do have a question about the spring camp. Is this the first year doing this? Or did we do it last year too?
Yeah, we've
Oh,
run
okay.
this camp for quite a few years.
Okay.
in conjunction.
How many spots are open for that?
I believe we take around 100, 125.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No? I'll just touch on a couple things. So in the aquatics section, I will say that the training that's the facility that's being offered for training, again, now this has come up several meetings where our public safety has been involved with training at the aquatic facility. And I can tell you, being part of the training yesterday that occurred, it was invaluable to our public safety officials. There was almost 30 public safety divers that were at the facility yesterday, and the repetitions that they're able to get in the safety of the pool with clear water and able to have safety divers that are able to watch them and, do things like trying to cut themselves out of obstacles and things that they're just not able to do in the lake when you can't even see your hand in front of your face sometimes. So, huge shout out to you guys and your staff for allowing that to happen. I think talking with some of the people that came down from Ohio and Cincinnati for the last class that was held there at the aquatic center, they were thoroughly impressed with the facility and your staff. I mean, the amount of raving reviews I got was blown away, and it kind of makes you feel interesting for me, who was born and raised here. That's all I know. I'm like, it's the aquatic center, right? And then you see these guys coming from Cincinnati that are like, man, this is the best aquatics facility we've been in ever, and we go to do these all around the country. So it was really, really cool to hear that. So again, thank you to your staff. Your lifeguards are always super pleasant to work with. They were amazing. They were very helpful, and they enjoy it as well, I think, half the time. So that's good. And the other comments, the Lions Club donating the shade structure, Kiwanis donating the benches, and then the Chamber of Commerce leadership class donating the swing set. I mean, those are huge things that, I love to see these partnerships between these organizations in the city just to do things to make our city better. It's so great to see these associations, Pickleball Association, Little League, the Chiefs football, that are all stepping up to do what they can to make it better. We need to understand sometimes that the city government can't do everything. So it's really cool to see little things like that, a shade structure, a new swing set. Again, I grew up swinging on those swings, so it's cool to see that those got replaced. So great things on your report. So any other final comments or thoughts for the director? Alrighty. We will move on to our public hearings. Item 7.1, discussion downtown catalyst project update. Director King.
Thank you. So just kind of a quick update today. The Downtown Catalyst project will actually go back out for advertised for bid tomorrow. So that'll be out on the street for approximately a month. March 27th will be the bid opening. A couple of things that we did differently as far as to package that together to hopefully, again, bring down the cost of that project was first and probably the most significant cost savings will be the initial grading of the area itself and hauling off all that dirt will be done with city staff. So a combination of Public Works and Parks and Recreation will take care of that mass grading to start. There will still be a little fine-tuned grading that'll need to be done by the contractor, but that should offer a huge cost savings to the project itself. And then another item that we did was reduce the number of the shade structures around to really 2 on each side of the main entrance, and then the other ones are listed as an alternate to the project, and that'll actually just kind of then spell out the exact prices, and we can look at those and make recommendation to council based on what those true prices come out for each particular item. So that kind of concludes my bid there. So again, we'll advertise it tomorrow, and hopefully on the 27th, when we have that bid opening of March, that we get some better bids.
Great. Any comments from the board before we open to the public?
How many shade structures were there originally?
I believe there's almost 10
10, and we're cutting it down to 2?
to 4, 2 on each side of the entranceways.
So in the future, will there be accommodation to be able to add those shades?
Yes, correct.
Because we were talking about the partnership with various organizations in town. They may want to be able to step up and say this shade donated by, so I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, so the intention would be that all the post, which will also provide the lighting and the electrical for the area, would be installed. So then there would be that opportunity to add those additional structures.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, this is a public hearing. Would anybody like to address the board on this item? All righty, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Final comments? Okay, great update as always. Let's keep the ball rolling on it. It seems like a never-ending process, but I think it's going to be good to see these bids come in the way it's structured now. So, and it's awesome to see city staff step up and making this work and cut some costs. So, all right, we'll move on to item 7.2, discussion field and court update.
So we've done some additional leveling of the infield at Rotary Park. We're starting to move the irrigation heads at the Sarah Park fields in preparation to remove some turf to create warning tracks around those fields. And then leveling of the infields will begin shortly thereafter. We're really trying to incorporate that into the season at the same time so that each field is playable every single day. So we're running into a little bit of some challenges there just with the scheduling. So some of the leveling has gotten pushed off, but we'll be able to get that accomplished here shortly. And then up at Dixant Park, we were able to install 2 additional shade structures that the Pickleball Association purchased. Those are located near the newest forecourts, where last month they had said, we had poured some additional concrete to increase their seating area there. They had purchased 2 Ramada shade structures from the correctional facilities that we purchased those from, and those got installed. I want to say 2 weeks ago, right before their big pickleball tournament, which was this last weekend. So that concludes my update there.
Thank you. All right. Any questions or comments from the board before we open to the public? Go ahead.
What are warning tracks?
So warning tracks are, it's a strip of dirt, we'll call it, it's red, before the home run fence, so that when a outfielder is running towards the fence, they have a warning that the surface has changed, so the fence is coming.
Okay, learned something.
Great explanation.
Thank you. And possibly for a future meeting, I'm curious what you think about what are our most underutilized parks and why? Because we hear a lot about overutilization. I wonder what are resources that we have that aren't being used. Thanks.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay, this is a public hearing. Would anybody like to address the board on this item? Okay. Okay. He mentioned that they have bleachers under the shade structures as well. You want to come up and talk about it? Okay, all right. All righty. So seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for final comments or questions. Anything? Nothing? Okay. I again, I'll just make the comment of I did take another tour, pass, walk, jog, more kind of wandering through the Dixamp pickleball area, and it's looking amazing. I mean, it's looking great, really good. I mean, the bleachers, the shade structures, the concrete, the curbing that's getting ready for the parking lot. The parking lot wasn't there yet, so I don't know if it's there yet, but
No, it's still coming.
yeah, it's looking really good. The Connex box that the association purchased, I mean, it's all looking really good. So it's definitely an impressive area for sure. So great job. And then again, all the updates that we're seeing and all the upgrades we're seeing is definitely a good thing. One of the things that I was asked to bring to the board was the idea of potentially leaving some of the lights on at some of these fields when they're not scheduled to be used. Has that ever been a topic of discussion? I know maybe in the past they've been left on, but they've been shut off again. Can you provide any insight to that?
Yeah, we kind of go back and forth on lighting some of them. Traditionally, if they're not being used, which right now the field space is pretty prime, but during the summertime when it's not quite as utilized, to have some of them on just to allow for in the evening where it cools down slightly, some people to be able to get out. Some of that is budget driven. The cost to run those lights. They're not all LED yet, so that's some other transitions that we're going through. But it's definitely something that we have talked about and have the capability of doing. It's funny, we hear both sides of that coin, right? Of sometimes when I drive by a facility and you see all the lights on, and no one's out there. Why are those lights on?
Sure.
So there's definitely a two-sided piece to that as well.
Sure. And I told a couple of the people we were talking with that, I'd bring the topic up, but, I do see the idea of, hey, if the fields are there, if the lights aren't on, they're unusable. If the lights are on, at least, people could use them and they are nice. So, but I also see the idea of, the optics, I guess, or the public concern of you drive by and there's nobody on it. What are we wasting? But, again, I think we're pushing down the line of improving the usage of these fields and courts and making them nicer and making it to where everybody can use them. So I do tend to lean the way of let's light them and make them usable, especially in the summertime where, it's 130 degrees during the day. At least it's not like an oven at night. So, it provides a little bit of a safe haven for people to go play ball or, even if it's, miscellaneous sports. So, again, maybe that's a topic for a later discussion, but I do think it'd be a great idea. But other than that, like I said, it's fields and courts are looking great. Your staff's doing amazing. It's awesome to see them do it in-house. And, I'm there, feel like every day of the week at these fields, and almost every day I see a different upgrade happening. So it's definitely awesome to see. So, all right. Any final comments or questions? Okay. We'll move on to item 7.3. Discussion for the Island Path project update. Director King.
Okay. So the Island Path project is moving right along. The eastern portion of the project is now complete. With that, we also paved the parking lot in front of the Island Ball Field, as well as the main parking lot where you come in there at the corner of McCulloch and Beachcomber. So both of those lots got paved. We're in a little bit of a holding pattern until March 9th. That is when the western portion will become pulverized. That is a Saturday morning. So just for the public that are listening, that Saturday morning, we will be out there with a machine that will basically pulverize that western portion of the path and then come through, grade that, and repave. It is a smaller portion than the eastern portion that was done, so it should move along fairly quickly. The scheduled completion date for the contract is May 13th. Without any unforeseen hiccups in the project, we should come in actually earlier than that. But I don't want to advertise too early. So the contract completion is May 13th for that side. With that, I'll take any questions.
Great. Questions, comments from the board before we open to the public? All right. Would anybody from the public like to address the board on this item? All right. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Final comments, questions. All right. It's looking great out there. Keep it up. All right. Moving right along, we'll move to item 7.4, discussion, the Site 6 boat ramp project update. Director King.
Okay, so the big day happened on February 14th. We got the in-water portion of the ramp pushed in. So it's the lower portion. Everything was very successful in getting that slid into the water. So now the next step was basically to remove all the fill that we had to build up so that we could pour that ramp and then push it. So all that had to be removed and then under that graded so they can get ready to pour the next section of that ramp, which is the portion where you would be actually pulling your truck would be sitting as you're pulling out of the water. So that is the stage of that project that we are at currently. So with that, I'll take any questions. But again, that was a very exciting day on February 14th to get that piece pushed into the water. So.
All righty. Questions or comments from the board? All right. This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to address the board on this item? All right. Seeing none, close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Nobody? All right. We'll move on to item 7.5, discussion, process how city land becomes a park. Director King.
Okay. So there's a couple different ways that a piece of land owned by the city can become a park. I'm going to go through really kind of a little bit of a step-by-step process here. And this is something very similar to what we're using for the downtown Catalyst site. Something very similar that was utilized when Cypress Park was built as well. First, we identify the need. What is the need of the community out there? We had then identify what type of park might fit best that is being requested, whether that be a pocket park, a neighborhood park, a regional park, what amenities would look good in there. So there's definitely some public input at that part. Then we look at the priority of the department. Currently, our main priorities are upgrading the facilities that we currently have. We're not necessarily looking at adding a lot, with the exception of the downtown Catalyst site. But we're really trying to focus on increasing the amenities and the newness of the amenities at our current parks. And then how does that fit into the whole overall priority of the city? Ranking that against public safety, roads, water, sewer. Where does that park fit? Identifying a funding source would become the next step, getting that into our CIP process. And, is it grant funded? Is it privately funded? Would it, be general fund? And then we go through the design process, which again, a lot of public input in that phase, much like the downtown Catalyst site. And then after the design work would be done, we would send it out, go through the bid process and procurement. And then the next step, would be council approval and then construction. So those are kind of really the steps of how a piece of land owned by the city could become a park. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Great. Thank you. Sure, there'll be a couple questions. Does anybody have anything before I open to the public? Okay. Would anybody from the public like to address the board on this item? All right. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Questions, comments? Go ahead.
I have a quick question. So how closely does the city work with BLM in terms of, I know the desert areas aren't technically parks, but just in maintaining those, do we work with BLM at all? Or is that kind of their jurisdiction? We really just do the in-town?
No, we have a great working relationship with BLM, especially through the Sarah Park. The trails start on city property, but then most of them the majority of the trails themselves go out onto BLM land. So we have a great relationship with them and a memorandum of understanding currently for the sign project that we're putting all the signs out there, marking and identifying the trails, again, to help with search and rescue mainly. So that's a great working relationship there with BLM.
Sure. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Go ahead.
So part of what provoked this agenda item was a call to the public. And is there a source for people to go to learn about any intended use of city land?
Sure. If you go to the city's website under the zoning and general plan section through development services, it'll really show you kind of the parcels that the city owns and what they are zoned for. Parcels that would be really areas that we might be looking that we could utilize. Granted, any city parcel could be used as a future anything, but they're zoned P1, and that would be public purpose.
Okay, thank you. And that's on the website already? You don't have to request that information?
Correct. Yeah, there's maps up there.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board? All right. Okay. Move on to item 7.6, discussion and possible action, frequency of board meetings. Director King.
So during the city council planning session in January, the city council discussed the frequencies of city boards and commissions and are kind of looking for some input from this board regarding the frequency of how often this board meets and whether or not that makes sense, whether or not it needs to be changed. With that, I'll turn it over to Councilmember Lane, and he can add a little more to that.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Keene, thank you. Yeah, I brought this forward to the City Council at the retreat, and the reason for that is we have several committees, commissions, boards, and some of them haven't met in a year. Some of them meet quarterly, some of them meet monthly, and so just wanted to get some input from all of you because you're all volunteering your time to help us. And we want to make sure that we're not wasting your time and that we're using your time to the best of our abilities and the best of your abilities. So what I wanted to find out from you all is, do you like doing monthly meetings? Do you think it'd be better to do quarterly meetings? How often do you think that this board should meet? So just to make sure that we're not, there isn't board members that think, we could do this quarterly and I wouldn't have to use so much time, or if you want to continue to do it monthly, we're here whenever you all want to be here, but we also want to think about making sure that we're using your time appropriately because you're volunteering to help the city. So with that, any discussion?
Sure. Thank
Thoughts?
you. You guys aren't getting paid? No, I'm just kidding. Any thoughts or questions or comments, input?
I will say personally, I really like coming because I get the director's reports of all like the parks, and that's kind of like my source to know what's going on each month. So I enjoy that, but that's me.
Sure. Go ahead.
I also enjoy our meetings, but I'm indifferent. So whatever everyone decides, I'll roll with it.
Go ahead. We'll go around the room.
All right, Mr. Chair, thank you. I think once a month kind of makes sense. There's a lot of updates. There's a lot of information provided to the public that makes sense to do it monthly. So I think that makes sense.
Great. You're up.
Sure. That's good. I think monthly is fine and great, especially because things might come up, and if we don't already have a meeting on the calendar, it's difficult to throw one on there. However, I do think that there have been meetings where the meeting wasn't all that necessary, and in those situations, I think even emailing the director's update would still keep us in the know. So maybe what I am suggesting is that we keep our calendared monthly meetings, but that a meeting is held in consultation with the chair to determine if there are enough agenda items or that are worthy of that meeting. And then further, I would just, if we don't meet 1 month, then we will meet the next month. So we're on an every other meeting schedule at least.
Great comments. Tag, you're it.
Omit, okay. Monthly's fine by me as well, but if there's not a need for a meeting, I think the chair could make that decision for us and take a bye and gather things the following month. So I'm good with that as well.
Sure. My comments would be, I truly do think that the monthly meetings are beneficial. For me, I know that prior to me getting on this board, I don't know that I really even knew the board existed. And I know recently with how heavily involved I've been with a lot of the organizations, I think that these organizations kind of take solace and appreciate the fact that we're here and we have a platform for them to come speak if they want to. So I would 100% support continuing monthly meetings. And I even don't know that I would necessarily, no offense, but support not having a meeting, because there are plenty of times where I'm getting calls constantly of, hey, this is going on. How do we get this addressed? Or how do I address the city on this, or whatever the case may be? And I always point them, here's our meeting. Come talk at the call of the public. And I think at the end of the day, if we show up, we hear the director's report, and we just have an open door to allow the public to come and talk about their concerns with anything Parks and Rec related, I think even if nobody shows up, at least we did our due diligence. And I would feel comfortable leaving at the end of the day going, hey, we gave them a platform to come talk. And we gave them the ability to come address us if they want to or they need to. So I totally agree either way. But I think that for me, I know that one of the biggest things when I've been pushing it and talking to people and getting out there and talking about the Parks Board is the fact that they appreciate where they can come talk to us. So go ahead.
Just to follow up to that, I agree with that being a great platform. No offense, but we usually have one guest. But there are times, when there's an agenda item that provokes more public interest, and calls to the public are a great way to hear from the public and then be able to get an item on that agenda for the future. But it's not a great way for a conversation. And I know people come sometimes and are passionate about something, they share something, and then the inability to have that two-way dialogue is frustrating. So a better route for those people might be to go to the director and have a conversation and possibly get a discussion item on the agenda. That would create a meaningful agenda that would be responsive to the public as well. So there's different ways to go about it.
Sure. Yeah, I totally see your side for sure. So any final thoughts or questions, your guys' takeaway from this?
I hear what everybody's saying, and like I said, for me, it doesn't matter. And I would agree that if there's no need to have a meeting, why have a meeting just to have the meeting? I hear you want to continue with the monthly meetings. That's great. We can do that. I would think maybe have monthly meetings with the option between the director and the chairperson. If there's not a reason for a meeting, cancel that meeting, but the next meeting shall take place regardless. So is that, tomorrow we have a council meeting and I'm going to be giving them an update on what it is you've all decided. So I want to make sure that it is what you guys want. Is that, or do you just want flat monthly meetings?
Yeah, I would say let's get your guys' thoughts. My opinion is I say flat monthly meetings, schedule them out. People, the public knows every month. So and let me finish up some comments. We'll bring you up for sure. So is there any other thoughts on that?
I think Ashley had a good point, being able to have somebody who kind of dictates like, yes, there's 2 or 3 items. No, there's not. Just a point person. But I also do like having the language of like, listen, if we do a bi week, we're for sure going to have, or bi month, we're going to for sure have a meeting the next month. My only concern would be the call to the public, but I think you have a great idea of how to address that, because it's true. Like even last week when I was running it, I was like, oh, we can't really talk, but you get excited, right? And you want to. So those I thought was a good idea.
Sure. Any other comments before I open to the public? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I would just add that it seems like it's empty, but these are also put on YouTube. So it could be that more people are watching. And again, we give a lot of information. So I think I'm in favor for just the flat month, but I also understand if there's no agenda item. I guess I do like the option of if we needed to, we could, if there was absolutely nothing, but it seems like there's always something. So that's all.
Sure. Okay. This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to address the board on this? Come on up.
I too like the monthly meetings, listening to see what's happening every month that something changes. And on this paper today, we have 4 items that are going to be coming up next month and the next month and the next month. It's a shame that the one that brought up the open to the public last week isn't here to address what's on this. But I do like coming here. And it's a shame that I'm only one that comes here most of the time, unless there's a big group of people that, would like something, but, and I've never done that with lights, but, I said I could, but I won't. And I had to throw that in. Anyways, I too, like, coming here and, I could understand maybe in the summer when there's maybe not as much, but there might be as much. I've never stayed a summer, but I've been here in June, I've been here in July and August, but never for a long period of time. And I'm going to try to keep it that way. But I think you guys are doing a great job. Mr. Keen's doing a great job. A lot of work. And he's got a new helper guy out there, and he did do some more bricks by, himself out there. And pickleball is graded nice. And, someone said, oh, one more court there. We'll have a championship court. Well, I don't think that's going to happen for a while. But, yeah, keep it up, and I'll keep coming. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for your attendance, Mr. Carr. We appreciate the dialogue. All right. Anybody else from the public? All right. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. Thoughts?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you guys have made it pretty clear. So we'll continue the way we are. And the door's always open if you guys want it differently. And if it just comes to the point where we really shouldn't have a meeting, then we'll let the director speak with the chair. But unless that'll be few and far between, I think it would be the way to go, which is the way it is now.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to comment on. I think that's what it is now.
It is.
We meet monthly, and we canceled the December meeting, I believe, and he communicated with me and said, hey, it's a holiday. We don't have much to talk about. Are you good with taking it off? And we concurred that it wasn't the case. So we're essentially doing kind of what we're talking about now. So I would tend to agree with, if there's ever a time that it's, hey, we have nothing, then yeah, let's talk about it and see what we can do. But I think for the most part, this board has come a long way in the short amount of time that I've been on it with having viable conversations up here where it's involved. I know when I first got on the board that, we were lucky if we were, here for 20 minutes. It was like a 15-minute meeting every time. We've come a long way where we're actually having conversations. We're bringing the public in. We've had large groups coming in, and I would just hate to see that lost if we're trying to push it to a quarterly meeting or something like that. So, all right. Final thoughts, questions?
No.
Sure.
Yeah.
Come on. Okay, go ahead.
Just as a reminder, how can someone submit an item to be put on the agenda, and what is the deadline?
Are you meaning a board member or a member of the public?
A public member, sorry.
So the kind of the easiest ways would be one to email myself or get in contact with myself down at the Parkers and Recreation office. And then I can walk through that if that is an item that truly needs to be on the agenda, or if we can just have a conversation if it's a question. Or come here to a meeting, and it would be on the following month through a call to the public, or also getting in touch with the chair, and then the chair and I will have that discussion of is this an appropriate item to be on the agenda, and then we would request about a week prior to to our meetings for those types of conversations.
Great, thank you.
Great piece of information for sure. Final questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Yep, briefly, I had an opportunity to attend the retreat, and if you get the opportunity to do that, I just encourage it. Mercedes was there. I don't know if other board members were able to attend, but it's very enlightening to hear the department heads speak about their various issues and the challenges of finding qualified people to fill all the positions they have to fill. And it was a day worthwhile. Just wanted to comment on that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other comments on this item? Okay. We will move on to item number 8, future discussion items. Would anybody like to add a future item for future discussion?
I would like to, if it qualifies. Does Parks and Recs have any idea of an initiative for Earth Day coming up on April 22nd? Maybe I should add to that, like Earth Day related crafts, maybe upcycling, some sort of fun things for the kids to do, educational outreach of the sort.
Sure. So did you want to touch on that, or do you want to?
Yeah, and we can bring that as part of the director's report next month, but we do have activities planned on Earth Day.
Great. Any other topics, items? Go ahead.
Thank you. Just Ms. Pasquale brought up earlier about looking at underutilized parks, where and why. Along with that, if you guys decide to do that, one of the things that I would suggest it would be if we could get a copy to all of the board members of where our parks are, and everybody on the board during their time visit all of these parks, so that if it's discussed, you actually have an idea of where it is. Because I don't think everybody, I know I've never been to every park. I've been to probably 99.9 of them, but not all of them, I'm sure. So, because there are some little hidden pocket parks. So, just a thought.
Sure. Did you actually want to try to add that to the?
Well, I just know that with the additional, with teen break and the spring camp, I'm sure, and other things, including releasing the bid tomorrow, I just don't know if that's an appropriate ask of you at this time for an assessment like that.
Even when we add items to the future agenda, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the next agenda.
Very true.
So we could put that on a list that we address in the future.
In the future. Okay. Yes, I would like that discussion.
Great. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any other future discussion items? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to future meetings.
Future meeting dates, March 25th and April 22nd.
Great. All right. Yes, sir.
Just bring up the new meeting facility will be opening sometime here in the near future. So the next meeting, just be aware that it may be here and it may be there. So we're not sure yet. So
Awesome.
we haven't even moved our council meetings over there yet, but the time is coming that we will be moving to the other facility at some point, unless we decide to leave the boards here. So, and that decision hasn't been made yet either, but we'll let you know when you get your agenda.
Great.
Yeah, we'll make sure it's in big red letters if we're changing locations, just so everybody shows up at the right facility.
Yeah, that's exciting to hear. I'd be excited to definitely be part of that new facility, but either way, I'd be happy to stay here too. But a new chair would be nice. Alrighty, any final items for the good of the order? Okay, all right, everybody, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you. Have a great night.